Today specifically, we want to talk about the new rule.
Generally speaking, at a very high level, one of the main requirements is...
In the past, our understanding was you could bring me money, but you can't have any stay in the business. Is that fair?
Basically, yes.
The only thing people care about now is the program going to last.
Yeah, and that's a million or billion-dollar question.
And I want to invest in an 8A company. What are some of the things that I should be looking for?
Are you comfortable with the owner, the company, its business plan, its business motto? You have to get SBA's prior approval for that change.
Is there a limit?
At a high level, minority investor can own up to...
Do you know of any active challenges right now to the program?
Not that I know of off the top of my head, no. SBA has taken a more broader approach in terms of what protections can be put into place for...
Welcome. It's been a couple months since we've last saw each other and caught up.
Yeah.
And lots been happening lately.
To say the least.
And we were kind of discussing offline. There's so many things happening that there's so much to cover. But today specifically, we want to talk about the new rule that came out recently, the final rule with the SBA, making it easier to invest in 8A companies. That's of particular interest to me. And I know a lot of other people who I've tried explaining what this program is and how it works, but from their outside world, they really haven't had an interest or care because of the previous rules in place. So can you talk to us now? I saw an article that you sent over, and I said, let's have a conversation. So tell us about the rule and how does that impact us as small businesses, or how does it impact people on the outside looking in?
Yeah, so the 8A program is a business development program under the Small Business Administration. Generally speaking, at a very high level, one of the main requirements is that the company be owned and controlled by a socially and economically disadvantaged individual. And what ownership and control means really has kind of been pretty restrictive in the prior regulations. And there's different ownership and control requirements that SBA applies to other socioeconomic programs, such as the Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business Program, Women-Owned, and then just kind of general small business compliance. And what ownership and control means varies between those different types of socioeconomic statuses. With this proposed rule, SBA, and now final rule that went into effect in January of 2025.
DEI is gone, USAID shattered, Department of Education under attack, sensors are being challenged. But inside Federal Help Center, we are dueling and winning contracts every day. So join for free. Come inside to get the information so that you know what to do to start winning now.
SBA has kind of taken a broader approach in terms of what protections can be put into place for non-qualifying owners, for minority owners in a particular business. And as particularly relevant to the 8A program, before the regulation provided that the qualifying owner really needs to basically control all decisions of the business, anything you can basically think of. Now that is changing to include certain permissible like veto rights for a minority owner. And when I say minority, I mean like a less than 50% owner, in terms of what types of things they could have a say over, which is a much broader and expanded list from ever before. So it really will open up the opportunity for 8A owners or 8A companies to bring in a minority owner and investor and allow the investor to feel comfortable with the types of protections that this rule will allow them to have.
So in the past, our understanding was you could bring me money, but you can't have any stay in the business. Is that fair?
Basically, yes. More or less, yes.
It's like, yeah, I'll take your money, but you don't have any say in decision-making authority.
Yeah, and it was kind of subjective. There wasn't a set rule of what was and what wasn't permissible for those non-qualifying owners to have control rights over. And it really did kind of vary based on maybe who was reviewing the application. It wasn't entirely clear. So now there should be a better, clear understanding, particularly given how the regs have been revised in prior case law in terms of the decisions that a investor minority owner can have.
Okay. Now, if I'm out there and I'm an investor, right, and I want to invest in an 8A company, what are some of the things that I should be looking for? Or what are some of the things that, we should be thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think, with any investment, are you comfortable, right, with the owner, the company, its business plan, its business motto? Because ultimately, the day-to-day decisions of the company still need to be run and controlled by the qualifying socially and economically disadvantaged individual. So the changes to the regs really are more on like extraordinary, what is kind of a term of art in the regulations, extraordinary circumstances, not day-to-day, like big ticket items that are really meant to protect your investment. So from a day-to-day perspective, there isn't really much control from like being able to say no perspective that you can have. So really comforting, comfort level with the qualifying owner, with the business, their business plan, those all still remain true.
All right. Is there a limit to the amount of money I can invest in terms of the percentage of ownership? Does that exist?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good question, and it's not like a yes or no, black and white answer. There's a number of circumstances that kind of depend. At a high level, you cannot own, a minority investor can own up to 49% because the qualifying owner needs to own, at least 51%. From a dollars perspective, SBA, it also depends too if you're going through a change of ownership with a company that's already in the program, or if you're looking to then apply to the program with this new ownership. Depending on the level of change of ownership and if a company is already in the program, you have to get SBA's prior approval for that change. The percentage of ownership that you could acquire without prior approval has gone up over the years and has gone up with this final rule. It's now at 30%. So if you're doing it above 30%, you have to get SBA's prior approval, assuming the company is already in the program. But then the other thing I do want to note in terms of like limits on ownership is it really does depend. First, if you already have ownership, you being the investor, the minority owner, either you individually or through a company that you own. There's limits in terms of if you already have ownership, generally speaking, in one company, there's going to be limits on the amount of ownership that you can have in another 8A company. And you also need to be mindful if your company or you, depending on how you're trying to do the investment, is a company that's considered in the same or similar line of business as the 8A company. If that's true, which generally speaking is looked at by looking at the primary NAICS codes of the company, and if the first 4 digits are the same, then you're presumed, you're in the same or similar line of business. At that point, then you're not allowed, you're capped at a certain percentage, and then you're capped further at a certain percentage depending on what time period the company is in the 8A program. Because the program is split, generally it's a 9-year program, but it's split from years 1 through 4 and then years 5 through 9. So there's different stages, so there's different percentages that you need to be mindful of there. So long way of saying, yes, there are certain limits.
Now that's interesting. So it's not a straightforward answer for those people listening. And I do appreciate you answering that way because I also from time to time get confused on, right, you can own up to 49% of the first company, but then the second company, it's a smaller percentage, and then so collectively you can own up to a certain percentage of all the investments, even if they were in different industries. Am I correct?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I hate that I have this knowledge in my brain. I don't even know why. I know I have this information in my brain, but I don't like that I have this knowledge in my brain.
Hey, it's useful at some point, party trick, throw it out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think the only thing people care about now, right now, they're asking about is the program going to last? Is there any, that's what people are asking more than anything else, right?
Yeah, and that's
You
a
know,
million or $1 billion question, however you want to look at
right?
it.
Yeah, that's the question that people keep asking, right? It's like, hey, what's going to happen with these programs? Um, but I've seen, why don't we talk about, because we can't obviously predict the future. Let's go back to what happened a few years ago, right? And what happened with the program until
Yeah,
some of those changes.
I assume you're referring to the Ultima decision and
Correct.
yeah.
Yes.
So, right, there's been some challenges to the constitutionality of the program. Previously, for those listeners who may not be aware, SBA used to apply a presumption of social disadvantage for owners that identified as part of certain groups. With this court action, that the court held that the SBA was no longer allowed to apply that presumption. So any company that was in the 8A program at that time, or that was seeking to apply to the program, there is no longer this presumption of social disadvantage. So now owners that most companies that, or any company that's in the program while that decision happened, either ended up having to prove their social disadvantage or they exited the program. Now, with anyone that's looking to apply to the program, you do want to be mindful of this requirement because it is, I think, a requirement that maybe not everyone fully realizes or appreciates kind of what you have to demonstrate. But the owner, the qualifying owner, generally speaking, it's one owner. It could be multiple, though. But generally speaking, the qualifying owner needs to demonstrate at least 2 examples where they've been subjected to disparate treatment based on an objective distinguishing feature, whether that be race, ethnicity, gender, etc., where they have been treated, disparately, biased against them, and that has negatively impacted their ability to succeed and advance in the workplace. And those instances could be anywhere from education, early years, middle school, high school, college, whatever, graduate school, business history, your own company, or then employment history as well. The examples do have to be examples that occurred in the United States. Occasionally we'll get, people saying, oh, well, I was living in London and this happened, or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, oh, well, we can't use that because that didn't happen here.
Right.
So that's just a little tidbit too to kind of think through. But yeah, SBA requires applicants to demonstrate at least 2 different examples that have negatively impacted their ability to succeed and advance in order to meet that social disadvantage requirement.
And so the point that I want to make was that this is not the first time these programs have been challenged, right? And they've been modified to adjust and reflect the challenges that have been proposed. Can you think of another time during your career that you remember the programs being challenged?
There's the Ultima one, I think, is kind of the first one that's kind of stuck. Right. There's been a lot of other challenges to the program that haven't been successful. Okay. So, and there's been similar challenges to the DBE program, as well as, so time will tell. It's hard, like you said, we can't predict the future. I would suspect that there will continue to be challenges to the program, and I think it's just a matter of, how much fight that's going to be put up for that.
Do you know of any active challenges right now to the program? Are you aware?
Not that I know of off the top of my head. No.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard of any either. So I just let people know how they can reach you. How can they reach you?
You can reach me at my email. It's M and then my last name, Leemon, LEEMON, at Pilero, PILIEROMAZZA.com.
And also, how do we subscribe to your newsletters? Because that's how I get all this information in your newsletters.
Yeah.
So you guys keep me up to date. I appreciate that.
We put out a lot of free legal advice. We publish a lot of client alerts and blogs and articles related to. We put out a ton of content as it pertains to this particular SBA final rule that we were talking about, but we've been putting out a lot given the recent executive orders and changes and really anything under the sun. But the best way, to subscribe is just go to our website, paleromaza.com, and you can subscribe for alerts on the bottom of the homepage. So like I said, we put out a lot of free content. Definitely check out our website. We have a YouTube channel as well, and we put out a lot of information.
No, you guys do a great job. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure. And so we look forward to getting some more of the information. And maybe we should talk about, I know you put out some content. Do you have anything maybe in like a PDF version that you could send us that we could maybe send out to our audience so that they can have it in an email form?
On on any
maybe some of the executive actions, because this will be in a video format, maybe on some of the executive actions or orders that have been taken recently. Something that you guys have created.
We actually just created a resource center for kind of that we're updating daily on what's going on recently. So I'm happy to send you the link to that.
Okay, that'd be great. I appreciate it. All right, listen, thank you. This has been great. And as always, I appreciate all the updates because there's so much information coming out here. I can't keep up myself. I have no idea how you guys even do it, but I applaud your work and I thank you for it. And, this is great because people are asking questions and I want to get the information out from them. So thanks again.
Well, I appreciate you having me. It's been great. And I will talk with you soon.
Okay, talk to you soon.